Most advice about feeling stuck is wrong. Think positively, find your why, push through. And that's not just bad advice, it's the reason why you're still stuck. 3 weeks ago, I was ready to walk away from the business I'm building here. And I did not fix it with motivation or positive thinking. I went to the research. And what I found changed everything. And this became this video. Hi, I'm Gwen Bach, and I have a master's degree in applied neuroscience, and I am the founder of Applied Brain Lab, where I study how modern environments shape decision-making in ambitious professionals and business owners. And in the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you what is actually happening in your brain when you feel stuck, why the advice that you've been given makes it biologically worse, and one thing you can do today that will actually move you ahead. And here's what that stuck feeling actually looks like for many of us, including myself. So you're still functioning. You're doing what needs to be done. And nobody around you would necessarily guess because that's the person you are. But underneath, something has been off for a while. And the more you try to push through it, the more stuck it feels. And sometimes it feels like paralysis, and the next day it's more like overwhelm. And then it turns into, oh, I just don't know what to do next. And then you do what most smart and intelligent people do. You think more, you analyze more, you search for answers online. You ask people you trust, you try to understand it better because you want to get a grip of it. So you try to fix it harder. And that's usually the point where the problem gets worse, because the instinct when you feel stuck is to add more, to do more, to think more, to put more effort into it, to self-correct, just to try to get that clarity. But research points in a very different direction. Feeling stuck is not a motivation problem or not a mindset problem either, and it's definitely not a find or bigger why problem. Feeling stuck is mostly a cognitive load problem. And once you understand that, the whole thing starts to look different, because it usually begins with overwhelm. Nothing dramatic, the normal modern day-to-day overwhelm. It's too much information, open loops, things that still need a response from you, and many half-decided situations sitting somewhere in the background. And that matters because research found in 2021 found that overload happens when the amount of information exceeds the brain's limited processing capacity. In other words, the problem is not that you're weak or you lack discipline. The problem is that your system is full. And once your system is full, the first thing that gets squeezed is working memory. Now, working memory is not storage. It's a processing space where it's the mental workspace that lets you hold the different threads of a problem, to compare options, to keep context in mind, to decide what to do. Rogova et al. Showed years ago that this system is limited and it can only hold so much at once. And this is where things get interesting. When working memory gets overloaded, your thinking does not stop. And this is why it is so confusing from the inside. You are still thinking. In fact, sometimes you're thinking constantly, but the thinking stops moving and updating, and it's not helpful. So now the brain has less room to hold multiple variables and less room to compare possibilities or to step back and evaluate properly. And once that happens, the next thing that goes is flexibility. Song et al. Found in 2021 that under higher working memory load, switching becomes harder. So this is not just about feeling mentally tired. It means the loaded brain becomes more rigid. It has more difficulty shifting strategy, changing angle, or approaching the problem differently. And that is a big deal because from the inside, that rigidity feels like, I have thought so much about it. But what is actually happening is like, I'm stuck in the same frame. And once you cannot shift, progress gets blocked. And once that progress gets blocked, frustration comes. Fassbender and Gerport showed in 2023 that when demands interfere with goal progress, frustration rises, not because there's something wrong with you, and definitely not because you're lazy or you lack discipline, but because your brain is registering a gap between what you are trying to do and what your current resources allow you to do. So the full sequence looks like this. Overwhelm creates cognitive overload, which causes squeezing working memory, which impairs flexibility, which blocks progress, which creates frustration. And this is what many of us feel as feeling stuck. And that's the reframe here. Feeling stuck is not some vague personal failing. It is what blocked progress feels like from the inside when your mental system is carrying more than it can process right now. And this is why much of the advice out there makes the problem worse for us. Because when somebody tells you, find your why, what do they want? They're asking you to think more deeply, to search more, to reflect, to generate more internal material. But that is the actual problem because it causes overload. It's the wrong mechanism. It's like telling someone with too many tabs open to solve the problem by opening even more tabs. And one of the most useful research I've read here is Masicampo and Baumeister's work from 2011. They found that unresolved goals interfere with executive function. So when you're not even thinking consciously about it, and that is important because it means open loops are not just harmless because they're sitting in the background. No, they still consume your resources. And the most interesting part came next. They found that the interference was not reduced by just completing the task, but it was also reduced by making a specific plan for it. And that is extraordinary because it means the brain does not need a full resolution. Sometimes all it needs is structure, and it needs the loop to become organized enough so that it stops demanding actively working. And that gives us a much more useful intervention than think positive or want it more, because the answer is not go deeper into your head or thoughts. The answer is get something out of your head and into a plan. And that is the part most of us miss. When you're overloaded, more internal searching is not the cure. It is part of the traffic jam. Boumea et al. Found in 2024 that repetitive negative thinking behaves a lot like competing mental tasks. It occupies working memory resources. So when you keep circling the same unresolved issue, the brain is not quietly resting in the background. No, while you are trying to figure it out, it is actively spending capacity. And that is why you feel exhausted by problems you haven't even acted on yet, because you carry them around in your brain. And once you understand that, the way out starts to change. And that is not because miraculously you became more motivated or you discover your deepest spiritual why, but because you stop asking your overloaded system to solve the problem by juggling even more. So here's the one thing I would like you to do today. Take one unresolved thing, not the biggest thing in your life, not the most emotionally loaded one, but one that has been sitting in the background for longer than you'd like it to be. And get a piece of paper, like proper paper, yes, and write down three things. So number one, what exactly is unresolved? What is the next concrete step? And when exactly will I do it? And that's all. You don't have to write a whole plan. You don't need some big breakthrough. We just need a very small, specific plan, one sentence each, because that does something very important. It takes the issue, the vague thing circling mentally expensive state that we've been living in, and we take it and turn it into something the brain has to no longer keep reloading in the background. And no, of course it does not solve everything, but it creates movement. And movement matters more than most of us realize, because one of the strangest things about stuckness is that we often think the opposite of stuckness is certainty, because it's not. The opposite of being stuck is movement. And movement comes before certainty. And this is why I think so much self-help advice misses the mark. It assumes that we need the perfect internal state, or the perfect insight, or perfect emotional readiness, the perfect big massive why. But what you're inside is an overload cascade. So it just takes the wrong order. You don't need to become fully clear to move. And very often, if you just create a little movement, clarity starts to come back in. And that is a very different mental model. And it's a much more practical one. So I would like to leave you with this. Feeling stuck is not a reliable sign that you're incapable of moving forward, because you are. It is mostly a sign that your system is overloaded, that your working memory is holding too much, and your flexibility is reduced, and your brain is no longer able to generate progress cleanly. So our systems are not broken, they're full, and a system does not need we don't need more pressure. We don't need self-criticism or inspirational slogan. And all we need is just one unresolved thing turned into a 3-question specific plan. And that is where I want you to start. In the next video, I'm going to show you why smart people often get trapped in this state longer than other people do, and why intelligence without the right framework can become part of the problem.